HD WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. Always live on the free Odyssey app. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Live and local from Philadelphia. Free speech lives here. It's Kayal and Company on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
And away we go, live on this Wednesday, April 19th. It is indeed Kayal and Company here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. We are live on the free Odyssey app as we head till 10 o'clock this morning on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Always streaming live. Good to be with you guys here on this Wednesday. 855-839-1210, the phone number. Twitter and Instagram at 1210 WPHT. I am on Twitter at Nick Kayal, Kayal. Dawn Stenzlin with the news. Greg Stocker, the chairman of the board. Anthony Dorenzo, Daniel Valdez, our associate producers. Oh, we got a lot to get to on a hump day.
Hump day.
How is everybody doing? Dawn, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Happy Wednesday.
Halfway home. Gregory, how are you, sir?
Wonderful. I'm reading this morning about botanical sexism.
Oh, I had a botanical gin last night, but not botanical sexism.
Sounds like your cover band name in high school.
Apparently, allergy season. The reason we're all sneezing is because of male trees.
Male trees.
They call it botanical sexism.
Oh.
So there's your factoid at 6:04 in the morning.
That could be worse. Could be botanical racism.
Well, that's coming next.
That's coming next.
Yes.
That'll be next week's outrage. Oh, boy. We got a lot of good stuff to get to today. The man, the myth, the legend, the man with the Twitter ban, Tony Bruno, is coming up at 8:30 this morning. He'll join us for a good half hour. We have all sorts of stories to get to this morning. More of the Bud Light boycott. I've never covered. Have we talked about a story this much?
Well, COVID, baby.
Well, maybe COVID. There's a few other things we've talked about a lot.
Man,
but a
still
beer,
going on, huh?
Good God. Another bad day for Southwest Airlines and Mayor Pete. Southwest has actually grounded more flights than Greg Stocker was grounded in 10th grade.
Nice. I see what you did there.
Remarkable.
Good stuff.
We've got alligators in Philadelphia.
What?
Yeah, parents are triggered in Lower Marion over a text message.
Yeah.
So we got so many things to get to this morning. This will be a really interesting show as we move along. And a big take centered around Riley Gaines. That's coming up in just about 6 or 7 minutes. But before we get to all of that, the great Dawn Stenzlin with round number 1 of the news.
Yeah, and good morning on this chilly morning. We will get out of the 30s, but I'll tell you when the big warm-up begins. And we are sponsored in the 6 a.m. version of Kayal and Company News Live this April 19th. We are sponsored by Joseph Anthony Retreat Spa and Salon. So if you were up early this morning, you know that the part of the Schuylkill was shut down, I-76 in South Philadelphia. What led to it, you ask? Well, yeah, it was an accident, but it all began, according to police, with a shooting that led to a wrong way, high-speed chase on I-76 in South Philadelphia with one person shot in the neck who police say may be paralyzed. So a 27-year-old man in critical condition right now following a shooting in that wrong way, high-speed chase on the Schuylkill Expressway in South Philadelphia early this morning. Police say it was about 3 o'clock this morning, 1900 block of Patterson Ave, right near FDR Park, and a lot of shell casings at the scene. PennDOT tow truck driver then told police that he saw the vehicles involved speeding eastbound in the westbound lanes of I-76. Not clear what led to the shooting, but the investigation is ongoing. Anybody with information about that shooting or crash is asked to call police. We want to update you on a breaking situation that I started out 24 hours ago talking about, and that was this shooting in Montgomery County in Lansdale, Pennsylvania. So it turns out to be, according to investigators, some kind of a love triangle. In other words, a woman's ex broke into her Montgomery County home and then shot and killed her new boyfriend who was visiting. So now her ex charged with murder. They're investigating there in Montgomery County. Detectives say that love triangle led to the death. Police say Philadelphia's Wesley Smith died at the scene. He was 21 years old. He was the new boyfriend. Christopher Moore, investigators identify as breaking into the woman's home, injuring. He was injured also in the return of that gunfire because both men were apparently armed. And now the ex, Christopher Moore, is charged with murder. He's also 21 years old. He shot and killed, according to police, his ex's new boyfriend after breaking into a bathroom window of the woman's Montgomery County home. This was overnight. I told you about this early yesterday morning, but it was an active investigation at that point. Lansdale police arriving to find Philadelphia resident Wesley Smith dead on the floor of the master bedroom, and the other 21-year-old guy bleeding from several gunshot wounds. And this is according to the DA there, Kevin Steele, as well as Lansdale Township Police Chief Michael Trail. We don't have word of any children being injured because apparently the ex, who's now charged with murder, was also the father of the woman's children. All right, the crazy story talking about bad divorces. Maybe we'll hold this. This was you've heard of custody battles and bad divorces.
Uh-huh.
This was gator bad.
Oh.
It was a gator that was at the center of a divorce and custody battle.
Is this the 8-footer in town?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Do you want to talk about it now or do you want to
Let's save it for the 7 o'clock
So we'll
hour.
save it.
Yeah.
All right. But
Yeah.
it was a hoot of a story making international news. Big gator named Big Mac.
I've already placed a call to Quint to get him out here and try to kill that sucker. Still waiting to hear from him.
Well, we'll have the custody battle conversation. But we are sponsored by Joseph Anthony Salon, Retreat Spa and Salon. So Joseph Anthony Retreat Spa and Salon, secret to spoiling the moms in your life this spring. Now with 3 locations, Glen Mills, Springfield, Center City, Lowe's Hotel. Visit in person or online, josephanthony.com, where gift cards are available, josephanthony.com. T-Mobile Weather Center forecast, 65 degrees today. Could be breezy at times, 25-mile-an-hour winds. So still kind of chilly for your Wednesday. Tomorrow, the heat up begins, 78 for your high tomorrow. We are in the upper 80s by Friday, T-Mobile Weather Center forecast. And this is Kayal and Company News Live.
Dawn with the news. Thank you very much, Dawn. 855-839-1210 is how you join the show. 610 here on this Wednesday. Let's get to a midweek big take.
The Big Take on Kayal and Company.
Today's big take as we champion women's rights against Title IX, which sounds odd, but it will make sense as we move along here. The battle lines have been drawn. It is Riley Gaines, biological women's rights and pro-common sense up against Title IX, the Biden administration, the woke vocal minority, and the trans invasion. The war of words continues to intensify, as does the actions of both sides in one of the most important social squabbles in modern American history. For those of you who are not aware of the story, Riley Gaines, a former college swimmer at the University of Kentucky, who, like many women, fell victim to Leah Thomas, a biological male who has transitioned to become a female and dominated women's swimming at the University of Pennsylvania, right here in Philadelphia. Now, Riley Gaines joined us on Kayal and Company 1 month ago today. It was March 19th and had this to say.
What happened at our NCAA championships was it was not progressive. We were not moving forward. This whole inclusivity and kindness, it's not kind. It's not inclusive. We're excluding the very athletes that Title IX was created to protect. And so at our NCAA championships, that first day, of course, Thomas won the national title, but that second day of competition, we raced in the 200 freestyle, which ultimately resulted in a tie, almost impossibly enough. And so after tying, we go behind the awards podium and the NCAA official looks at us and he says, "Great job, you guys tied, but Leah takes the trophy home." And I of course questioned this because I was confused. We tied. Why is he so adamant on giving this trophy to Leah over myself? And so I asked him and he says, "Well, Leah has to hold the trophy for pictures, You can pose with this one, but you go home empty-handed. Leah takes the trophy. And so that's truthfully what thrusted me into the position that I'm in and made me realize that dental school will always be there. My life plans I thought I had, but the relevance and the importance behind this issue might not be. And there is so much more at stake fighting for this.
And about 10 days later, on March 28th, Riley Gaines spoke at the University of Pittsburgh and came under verbal attack by protesters. Gaines observed that while a trans activist was welcomed with $26,000 from school's funding, she was protested and hit with threats of violence. Gaines, a 12-time All-American swimmer, called out the chaos at the University of Pittsburgh as many activists tried to prevent her appearance at the college. Gaines, who also serves as a spokeswoman for the Independent Women's Forum, shared a video of protesters blocking the streets around the University of Pittsburgh ahead of Gaines' event on campus hosted by Turning Point USA. Quote, when Dylan Mulvaney comes to Pitt, he gets paid $26,000 from school funding. When Riley Gaines comes to Pitt, she gets protested, threatened with violence, and attempted to get the event canceled by students, faculty, and lawmakers, Gaines tweeted. Quote, something tells me I'm doing something right, end quote. You certainly are doing something right, Riley, which is why Kayal and Company supports you, as do many Americans, even though those Americans might be afraid to speak up in your defense. Now, you fast forward to April 13th, Riley Gaines would then speak at San Francisco State University and come under even a bigger threat. Gaines detailed what happened in the 3 hours that she feared for her life inside of a classroom, not knowing if she was going to be able to leave. She then appeared on Talk Radio 1210 WPH yesterday at about 5:55 a.m., right before Kayal and Company comes on the air, on the Fox News Rundown, and she had this to say.
On April 6th, I was invited to visit San Francisco State University to do exactly what I've been doing the past year, sharing my personal experience competing against a male and explaining why it's critical that we protect the female category in sport. I'm a former 12-time All-American swimmer and have been speaking out after tying biological male Leah Thomas at the NCAA championships last year. When I accepted the invitation to speak in San Francisco, I knew there were going to be people in the room who did not share the same opinions as me. But this is something that excites me, not because I'm looking for controversy, but because it means I would have the opportunity to open eyes and change minds. I thought I knew what I was getting myself into when agreeing to speak at this university, but I was wrong. There was no way to prepare myself for what actually happened. I was able to successfully deliver a speech to a room full of people who were there in support as well as opposition. There was some heckling, but for the most part, the speech and question and answer were civil. That changed quickly. As soon as I finished speaking, a storm of protesters entered the room from the hallway. They rushed to the front of the room, flickered the lights, and physically assaulted myself and others. In the midst of this chaos, I was escorted out of the room by an SFSU campus police officer. In the hallway, we were only met with even more profane, vengeful protesters who were ready to attack. We were forced into another room in the hallway where I was barricaded for over 3 hours. In those hours, the mob screamed and chanted and yelled. I heard them yell, "You did this to yourself. You come on this campus and think we're not going to start a riot? Let her out so we can handle her. We aren't letting up."
The always inclusive, tolerant, and mostly peaceful left. Jamila Moore, the university's vice president for student affairs and enrollment management, sent an email to the student body afterwards and made no mention of an apology to Riley Gaines. Instead, Moore praised the, quote, tremendous bravery of protesters and thanked the students for participating peacefully. Late last week, we talked about how the Biden administration has now altered Title IX to deny funding of any school that receives federal dollars if they try to prevent biological males from competing in women's sports. Yesterday, Gaines blasted the Biden administration as former NCAA swimmer Leah Thomas backed the bill to amend Title IX to bar states from banning transgender students from competing against the same gender they identify as. Gaines, fired up over the Biden administration, tweeted the following: under the guise of competitive fairness, are you really trying to say you would have won a national title against the men? Does it not break your heart to see women lose out on these opportunities? Gaines wrote in a tweet. She goes on to say, quote, The Biden administration's proposed bill denies science, truth, and common sense. I don't know anybody that would disagree with that. With the House set to vote on H.R. 734 this week, Gaines was not done. She said the following on Twitter, quote, "The president has declared that science, truth, and common sense no longer matter. In opposing this bill, President Biden is catering to a radical minority at the expense of women, who are 51% of the United States population. Quote, equal opportunity, privacy, and safety in our sports shouldn't be controversial. The women who once advocated for Title IX should be outraged, as this goes against everything they fought for. Female athletes of all ages, levels, and sports deserve better," she added. Riley Gaines has gone from competing against men in what was supposed to be women's athletics to now competing against a party obsessed with gender identity, despite a majority of silent, fearful Americans that actually agree with her, but don't have the platform or the job security like this to stand up against the insanity. Gaines has lost before. She may very well lose again. But one thing you can take to the bank, that girl's going to go down swinging. And I respect the hell out of her for doing so. And I think you might as well. And that's the big take.
The Big Take on Kayal and Company.
All right, big take on this Wednesday. If you would like to jump in, 855-839-1210 is the phone number, 855-839-1210. We'll come back, get Dawn and Greg's reaction to that. Also, a victory for women in the world of women's athletics, and most Americans are in support of it. Those details on the other side, but it just keeps on getting better. Just over 2 weeks now, I've had my brand new 2023 Hyundai Tucson Limited that I got over at Piazza Hyundai in Westchester. And this has been one of the most enjoyable vehicles to sample. Now, the limited model that I have currently comes with memory seats, heated and cooled seats, which I've used both in the last few days because we've gone from 78 degrees to 39 degrees in the morning. A heated steering wheel, multiple digital monitors, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, panoramic sunroof, and cameras right on the dashboard for when you shift lanes. And right now, get 0% APR financing through 48 months, as well as a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, and their complimentary maintenance, 3 years or 36,000 miles. Plus, remote start park on the limited trim. And this model that I have right now, Motor Trend top safety pick. Yep, that's right. Go see the general manager, Sam, or one of their lease specialists today. I saw Muhammad a few weeks ago. He took great care of me. He'll do the same with you. Online always at Piazza Hyundai Westchester and Genesis of Westchester.com.